My name is Melissa Carter and I'm 23 years old. I live alone in a small 2-bedroom apartment in Seattle, Washington. It's a quiet neighborhood, nothing fancy, but it's home. Usually my nights are uneventful, just me, my cat, and a bunch of Netflix shows. But what happened last night still has me terrified, and I can't shake off the feeling that I was supposed to be the target. It all started when I was lying on the couch, lazily scrolling through Snapchat. You know how it is, mindless snapping, checking stories, and occasionally peeking at the snap map to see where my friends are. I'm not even close to obsessed with the map, but I like to see who's nearby or what my friends are up to. That night, I noticed something strange. There was a bitmoji on the map that I didn't recognize, and it was right near my location, like really close. At first, I thought it was one of my friends playing around, but the name attached to the bitmoji didn't look familiar. It was just some random username. No face, no information. Weird, but not alarming. I figured it was probably a glitch. Maybe someone was passing by, or the app was just acting up. Technology can be glitchy sometimes, right? I shrugged it off and kept watching TV, but a few minutes later, I checked the map again, out of curiosity, and the bitmoji hadn't moved. It was still hovering near my apartment. I tried to ignore it, convincing myself I was being paranoid. I got up to grab a snack from the kitchen, but out of pure habit, I opened the snap map again. My heart stopped. The bitmoji had moved too, directly following the path I just walked. I stared at my phone, feeling a creeping sense of dread. It was moving exactly like I had. Step by step, it followed me. My stomach dropped. Was someone outside my apartment? I ran to the window, peeking through the blinds. It was dark, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. No strange figures, no cars parked where they shouldn't be. Still, the unease was gnawing at me, so I locked all the doors and made sure the windows were shut tight. I tried to calm myself down, thinking maybe it was just a freak glitch or someone I knew playing a joke. I sat back down, but I couldn't resist checking the snap map again, and this time it got worse. The bitmoji was right on top of my location. My heart started racing. I stood up and walked back to the kitchen just to see if it would follow me, and it did. Every move I made, the bitmoji made too. It wasn't a coincidence anymore. My hands were shaking, and a cold sweat broke out on my forehead. Just as I was about to turn off my phone and call someone, a notification popped up. A new Snapchat message from an unknown user. My throat tightened as I opened it. It was a photo of my front door. I froze, staring at the screen, unable to comprehend what was happening. Someone was outside my house. Someone knew exactly where I was, what I was doing, and they were watching me. I don't think I've ever felt fear like that before. My body was paralyzed, my mind racing. I grabbed my phone and immediately dialed 911. As I frantically explained the situation to the operator, I could barely form coherent sentences. The police said they'd send someone over, but all I could think was, what if they didn't get here in time? I stayed in the kitchen, gripping a knife from the drawer, heart pounding in my ears. Every minute felt like an eternity. I kept glancing at the front door, expecting it to burst open at any moment. But the minutes ticked by and nothing happened. Finally, I heard a knock. The police had arrived. They searched the property, looked around the building, but found no one. I showed them the snap map and the picture of my door, but by then, the bitmoji had disappeared from the map and no trace of the person was left behind. The police told me they'd patrol the area for the rest of the night, but there wasn't much else they could do. I didn't sleep at all that night. The next day, I woke up to a knock on my door again. This time, it wasn't the police, but a neighbor from next door. She looked pale, shaken. She told me that our neighbor, an elderly man who lived just a few houses down, had been found dead, murdered in his own home. My blood ran cold as she explained how the police suspected the killer might have mistaken the houses. The thought hit me like a punch to the gut. Whoever was watching me last night, they weren't looking for me. They were looking for him. I could have been next. Now, every time I open Snapchat, I can't help but check the map, hoping to never see another unknown bitmoji lurking near my location. But the fear remains. I'll never feel truly safe again. My name is Mia. I'm 18 and I live in a small town in Michigan. It was a Friday night and a weekend party was happening at a friend's house. I was getting ready in my room, scrolling through a Snapchat, checking where my friends were on Snap Map. That's when I noticed something weird. My best friend Chloe, her bitmoji was moving rapidly. Chloe and I had been inseparable since middle school. We were always together and I knew she was supposed to be on her way to the party too. But when I looked at Snap Map, her bitmoji was jumping from one random spot in the city to another, almost every few seconds. One moment it was near the mall, then by the park, then somewhere across town. It didn't make sense. At first I thought it was some glitch in the app. I mean, Snapchat can be buggy sometimes, right? But the more I watched, the more unsettling it became. No one can physically move that fast. Something was off. I texted Chloe, asking where she was and if she was okay. No reply. I wasn't too worried at first. She's not the best at checking her phone, especially when driving. But as time went on, her bitmoji continued to jump between locations, almost like someone was dragging it around the city. It gave me this sick feeling in my stomach. An hour passed. Chloe's bitmoji was now jumping closer to the industrial part of town, the place we all avoided. It was an area with old factories and abandoned warehouses. Not somewhere Chloe would ever go. I tried calling her, but her phone went straight to voicemail. Something was seriously wrong. I sent her a few more messages, but they all went unanswered. I started to panic. My mind raced with all kinds of possibilities. What if she was in trouble? What if someone had taken her? But who would do something like that? I kept refreshing Snap Map, watching her bitmoji flicker between locations until suddenly it disappeared completely. Her bitmoji was gone. That was the moment I knew I had to call the police. I explained everything to them, the rapid movements, the disappearing bitmoji, and how Chloe wasn't responding. They told me to wait while they tried to locate her phone. I couldn't just sit there. So I went to the party to see if anyone had heard from her. No one had. It felt like hours passed before the police called back. They had found Chloe's car. It was abandoned in the industrial area I had seen on Snap Map earlier. The engine was cold. Her phone was still inside, but there was no sign of Chloe. The officer's voice was grim, and I could tell from the tone that they weren't expecting this to end well. I felt my whole body go numb. How could this be happening? I had been watching it unfold on my phone, but I didn't realize it. I didn't know that I was watching my best friend being taken, live through an app. The thought alone made me want to throw up. Days passed. The police searched everywhere. I couldn't sleep, eat, or think straight. I kept replaying that night in my head, questioning everything. What if I had called the police sooner? What if I had figured out that something was wrong earlier? 3 days later, they found Chloe's body in an abandoned warehouse not far from where her car was found. She had been killed the same night I saw her bitmoji disappear. The police said her phone and Snap Map had been hacked by someone who knew how to manipulate it, dragging her bitmoji around the city while they did whatever they wanted. I was devastated. My best friend was gone and I had no idea how it happened so fast. The scariest part? The person who took Chloe is still out there. They never found him. They don't even know who he is. All they have are dead ends and unanswered questions. It's been months since Chloe died, but I'm haunted by it every single day. I stopped using Snap Map completely, and I barely open Snapchat anymore. Sometimes, late at night, I still think about that moment when her bitmoji disappeared and how powerless I felt. I watched my best friend being taken without even knowing it, and now every time I open my phone, I'm reminded of the fact that we can be watched and tracked without realizing how much danger we're in. The scariest part of all, it could have been anyone. It could have been me. My name is Sarah. I'm 22 years old, and I live in a quiet neighborhood in Portland, Oregon. It's one of those places where you know almost everyone on the block, and we don't get a lot of excitement around here. But what happened a few nights ago changed everything, and I can't stop thinking about it. It's like something out of a nightmare. It was supposed to be a normal Friday night. My friend Mark, who I've known since high school, was coming over for a movie night. He lives about 10 minutes away, and we'd planned this for a while. Around 7 p.m., I texted him to check when he'd be here, but he didn't respond. At first, I didn't think much of it. Mark has a habit of getting distracted or running late. An hour went by, and he still hadn't shown up. I texted again, "Hey, where are you?" No response. It was weird, but I thought maybe he was driving. I opened up Snapchat and checked SnapMap to see where he was. That's when things got strange. Mark's bitmoji was showing up just down the street, parked near the abandoned house across from mine. I figured he was playing some kind of prank on me. That old house had been empty for years, and the kids in the neighborhood would dare each other to go inside, but no one ever did. I assumed Mark was just trying to scare me, knowing I hate creepy stuff like that. I messaged him again. "Very funny, come inside." But still nothing. Curiosity got the best of me, so I decided to go check it out. I grabbed my jacket and headed outside, thinking I'd catch him hiding out by the house. The street was eerily quiet, and the abandoned house looked as creepy as ever. Windows boarded up, the lawn overgrown, and the front door hanging slightly off its hinges. As I got closer, I realized something was off. There were no lights, no sign of Mark's car, no movement at all. I called out, "Mark, this isn't funny." My voice echoed down the street, but there was no answer. I stood there for a minute, feeling uneasy. The place gave me the creeps, and the fact that Mark wasn't responding made it worse. I walked around to the side of the house, but still nothing. It was completely silent. After a few more minutes of looking around, I started to feel silly. Maybe Mark had already left and just forgotten to turn off SnapMap. I turned to head back home, but then my phone buzzed. It was a snap from Mark's account. Confused, I opened it. My heart sank. The snap was a photo of me, taken just a few seconds ago. As I was walking away from the house, I froze. Someone had just taken that picture. Someone was watching me. My mind raced. I looked around, but there was no one there. I felt exposed, like whoever it was could see me, but I couldn't see them. My heart pounded in my chest as I sprinted back to my house and slammed the door shut behind me. I immediately tried calling Mark's phone, but it went straight to voicemail. I kept trying over and over, but no luck. I texted him again, but nothing. I didn't know what to do. Should I call the police? What if this was all just a prank? For the next hour, I sat in my living room, phone in hand, waiting for a response. Then I got to another snap from Mark's account. My hands shook as I opened it. This time, it was a video. The camera was shaky, but I could tell it was inside the abandoned house. It panned around the dark, empty rooms before landing on something that made my stomach drop. Mark's phone, lying on the dusty floor. I couldn't breathe. This wasn't a joke. Something had happened to Mark. I called the police and told them everything. When they arrived, they searched the abandoned house and found Mark's phone exactly where it had been in the video. But there was no sign of Mark. It was like he had vanished into thin air. The police questioned me for hours, but I didn't have any answers. I told them about the snaps, the photo of me, but they didn't find anything else inside the house. No one had seen him arrive, and there were no witnesses. It was as if he'd been erased. It's been days now, and Mark is still missing. His parents are devastated, and the police have no leads. I haven't received any more snaps, but I can't shake the feeling that someone is still watching me. Every time I pass that house, I get chills. I don't know what happened to Mark, but I'm terrified I'll be next.